Both Memorial Day and Veterans Day are problematic for me in that the jingoistic, xenophobic rhetoric comes out. We have to support the military-industrial complex or we're not patriotic. No, we don't. I waited and waited on Facebook this weekend, and finally somebody posted a picture of a soldier, and it said, if you support our troops, bring them home. We've been at war in Afghanistan longer than Vietnam. Vietnam was a nightmare. The difference is Vietnam was on our televisions every night. Afghanistan has completely disappeared into the background and is now just a dull sound that we don't even notice if we don't have people over there. People are coming home. Well, they say there's support services, but there aren't enough support services, particularly for trauma, for psychological trauma such as post-traumatic stress disorder. I have PTSD and brain injuries. Didn't know it for many decades. Always thought there was just something very badly wrong with me. I was about 12 or 13. I was heavily immersed in the Southern Baptist Church, feeling horrible because I thought I was evil because I wasn't coping well. I thought I was deserving the beatings. They say honor thy father and thy mother. So I thought there was something terribly wrong with me. I was certainly told enough that there was something terribly wrong with me, that I wasn't worth the lead to shoot me with, that I should never have been born. Going home was always treacherous from school because I didn't know what I would find. If she was in a good mood, I felt crazy because why didn't I trust her? She loves me. She cares about me. If she was violent, I felt crazy because why did I ever trust her? She never cared about me. They put me on drugs. I went from a pretty high IQ, 136 on the Stanford grenade. In a few weeks, I went down to borderline, what they used to call retarded, developmentally disabled, in the low 70s. They put me on Valium, one of the most addictive substances known. They played all kinds of better living through modern chemistry at my expense. Of course, I wasn't the one who was having the difficulties. I was just the one trying to survive them. So it's Memorial Day. And we're supposed to remember the fallen soldiers, the fallen American soldiers, but I want to remember the kids. The kids in the Congo, the soldiers coming through, raping the women because they think it brings them good magic and will make them successful. The kids born with AIDS. The kids who are now adults in Kosovo and Sarajevo that had to run and dodge to get to stores, to get food, and come home and find their apartments burned out. The kids who are being burned as witches. See, one of the problems with having PTSD is that images like that are in my head, and they come to the surface very easily. And when they do, I feel them. It's not a theoretical or intellectual exercise for me. I feel it. So the overwhelm can be too much at times. And I've learned coping strategies. I've learned to take care of myself. I've learned to put limits on what I can and cannot participate in. Abusive language, trolling, going around dangerous places where people are intoxicated. I stay away from those situations because I don't need that stress of other people's mental health issues. So, me being as involved in the internet as I am, especially on YouTube, God, Mom has people leave on a lot of videos. Me being involved in the internet has been a bit of a personal risk for me. But it was too important for me to be actively creating community and sanctuary for myself within both the atheism and queer and genderqueer communities. There was no space, so I made one. One of the walls that I bounce against all the time, and Schizophrenic Queen just made a video about burnout because of the same thing, is people's prejudices about mental health. Calling people horrible slurs because they don't agree with somebody's ideological point. But they're slurs about people like me. You're brain dead, you're a wingnut, you're a loon. By the way, the federal government just removed the word lunatic from legislation and stuff. One word at a time, I guess. Oh. And if I try to gently, not confrontationally, but gently challenge that and say, look, it's a disability. Please don't stigmatize my life further with these stereotypes about what mental health is. Instead of hearing me or treating me with respect, they tend to get defensive and protect their point of view. As gentle as I was, it doesn't matter, you know. Knee-jerk reaction, not response, reaction. Saying, well, you're paranoid, you're, you know. And it hurts because I know they're making the life of somebody in some institution or locked at home somewhere or in a school. They're making somebody's life worse and scarier. And I don't know how to get through. I know there's millions of little kids on the planet right now that are completely traumatized and will probably not get any care, like I didn't for a long time, or if they do, it'll be the church accusing them of being demon-possessed, which happened to me, or being doped up till they're stupid, which happened to me, or being beaten for it and told they're lazy or irresponsible, which happened to me, or being put away and stigmatized and treated like a second-class citizen, which has happened to me. And they're little kids. So this Memorial Day, I've been thinking about them. You know, I grew up with parents who had survived World War II, and I can tell by the way people talk about that war that millions of people were traumatized here in the States, never saw action, went through the rationing and the scarcity and the fear of the radio reports and so on, but never actually saw combat. But they were traumatized, a whole generation, and they talked about it obsessively. I don't know what's... Now this war is a dirty little secret. Nobody talks about it. So, Atheism TV put out a special report because some joker Christian who's going to be working for Jews for Jesus put out a video in which he said the biblical prophecies have come true, that it's the Jews' fault. They went through the Holocaust because God warned them in Deuteronomy. And it's prophecy coming true. The unfortunate part about this news story is that they showed film from the camps. Well, I put my hand up in front of the screen once I saw what was going on. And then finally I realized I could scroll down into the comments and only see a little bit of the screen, just enough to know when images were changing, but not to actually be able to discern what they were. And I wrote a very gentle little comment that it would be nice if there was some sort of a warning, because so people could psychologically prepare themselves, because these images are triggering and can re-traumatize people. And I said it's very similar to strobing a light around people who might have epileptic seizures. And I said, thank you. I got a note back from Atheism TV almost immediately saying, I don't know why we didn't think of that. It's been corrected. Thank you. And, atheist commenters on YouTube can be really sardonic and sarcastic and pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and don't be such a wuss. And so I didn't know what the wannabes would say. I got one private message from one viewer, never heard of this person, who said, "I hope you're okay and thanks for pointing that out." And I responded back, "Yes, I've had enough experience that I know what to do to take care of myself. I'm just concerned because I remember what it was like when I didn't know. And so I'm concerned for other people who might have walked into that video and then just been overwhelmed. I'm okay. I had a positive influence. I was able to change something. I was able to begin getting people to think about mental health disabilities as disabilities, because the mind and the body are not separate things, and a disability is a disability." And I cracked open the dialogue a little. I raised a little consciousness. See, I got plenty on my plate right now, and writing news for Atheism TV is probably the last thing in the world I needed to take on as an extra responsibility. But I knew that the way to inject ideas into media is to participate in the media. And I can write, and I can write news, and no, they don't pay me. But if I want to discuss women's rights issues and queer issues and gender-proof stuff and disability rights issues and have some sort of an impact, this would be a way to do it. And they respected me, and they heard me, and something changed for the better. Does that stop the pain and suffering of millions and millions of little children at the hands of adults? No. But we're supposed to be skeptical, and we're supposed to be rational, and we're supposed to be scientific, and we're supposed to have a set of principles, morals, and ethics that are self-driven instead of driven by fear of divine retribution. And the only way we can have a healthy impact is to have a healthy impact.
The first time it was fathers, the last time it was sons, and in between your husbands marched away with drums and guns, and you never thought to question, you just went on with your lives, 'cause all they'd taught you who to be was mothers, daughters, wives. You can only just remember the tears your mothers shed as they sat and read their papers through the lists and lists of dead, and the gold frames held the photographs that mothers kissed each night, and the door frames held the shocked and silent strangers from the fight. And the first time it was fathers, the last time it was sons, and in between your husbands marched away with drums and guns, and you never thought to question, you just went on with your lives, 'cause all they'd taught you who to be was mothers, daughters, wives. And it was 21 years later, with children of your own, the trumpet sounded once again, and the soldier boys were gone, and you drove their trucks first time it was fathers, the last time it was sons, and in between your husbands marched away with drums and guns, and you never thought to question, you just went on with your lives, 'cause all they taught you who to be was mothers, daughters, wives. And then your daughters grew to women, and your little boys to men, and you prayed that you were dreaming when the call-up came again, but you proudly smiled and held your tears as they bravely waved goodbye, and the photos on the mantelpieces always made you cry. And now you're getting older, and in time the photos fade, and in widowhood you sit back and reflect on the parade of the passing of your memories as your daughters change their lives, seeing more to our existence than just mothers, daughters, wives. But the first time it was fathers, the last time it was sons, and in between your husbands marched away with drums and guns, and you never thought to question, you just went on with your lives, 'cause all they taught you who to be was mothers, daughters,